Hello, welcome back. So, before I start this episode, I just want to explain that this one's going to be a bit different. So, at the end of every run that I do in the Flowey route, I want to have an episode where I just talk about the ending a bit and just anything else interesting that I think happened in that playthrough. So, that's what this is. You might also notice that I actually just got a brand new microphone, so my voice will sound a bit clearer and it hopefully won't glitch out or anything like that anymore. So that's nice. Now then, let's get started. So the first thing that I want to go over is the ending we got, where Sans basically becomes the new ruler of the Underground. So in this ending, Sans talks about how pretty much everyone the people considered could be a leader disappeared overnight, because I killed them. But Sans also jokingly says that, oh, I'm too lazy to rule, but then he says just kidding afterwards, which for me implies that yes, he actually did become the next king. One line he says in this ending that really interests me, though, is actually when he says, "This is what happens when people like me take it easy." So when Sans says people like me, that makes me think of earlier in the run when I was getting judged. He actually said, if you have some sort of special power, isn't it your responsibility to do the right thing? And all of this, I think, actually gives us a pretty deep look into Sans' psyche. So we all know that Sans is secretly a very powerful character, and we also, in the game, have a very special ability that makes us very powerful. So when he says people like me, I think he means, like, people who are really strong. Sans believes that since he has so much power, he shouldn't, just freely use it to get whatever he wants. He has to be responsible with it. And I've seen a lot of people ask questions like, why doesn't Sans ever try to protect his brother in neutral runs? Or why does Sans only wait until the very last moment to try and fight you in the genocide run? And I think this is actually that reason. Even if it gets super bad, he won't allow himself to just use his power willy-nilly however he wants, unless he feels like it's absolutely necessary to do so. And that makes a lot of sense in the context of Genocide Run, because you're literally a few steps from erasing the entire world, and so he feels it's his responsibility to do everything he can at that point. During his fight, he even says, I can't afford not to care anymore. Speaking of endings, though, there is another kind of ending that we got that I want to talk about, which is the Asgore suicide ending. This is an ending that took me a really long time to discover. I remember when I first just stumbled upon it, I freaked out because I thought I was about to find, some amazing new, not well-known ending, and then Asgore just killed himself, and I was like, oh, nothing I did mattered. Okay. And then, Flowey comes, he does his thing, he gives a big speech, and then the game ends as normal. But of course, what's really interesting in this ending is how Asgore directly talks about both Kara and Azriel. Before he dies, Asgore says that you have a similar look of hope in your eyes to the fallen human, which I think is some interesting symbolism that we see a bit of throughout this playthrough and other places as well. So something I think a lot of people kind of forget about is that throughout the game, there are a lot of little moments where you seem to actually be experiencing memories from Kara. Like, every time you game over, you get Asgore telling you to stay determined and that you're the future of humans and monsters. We also saw that exact same dialogue when we went back to sleep at Toriel's house. And then there's, of course, the big moment in the middle of Waterfall where you actually see a memory from when Azrael first met Kara. There's also a time during Undyne's fight where flower pollen drifts in front of you, which golden flowers tend to be either symbolic of Kara or Azrael. And finally, there's this time where Asgore says that we have a similar look to Kara. I'll probably talk more in depth about this later, but I just wanted to cover it a bit now since we've already seen so much of it. Now, with all of that in-depth stuff out of the way, I think I just want to talk about a few things that I just personally thought were cool. So, Undyne. Undyne is really cool in this route. It's actually crazy how many, like, speeches she has depending on, like, who you kill or spare in the run. And I definitely want to try and show off all of those throughout the route. But this one is definitely, like, the most serious version of Undyne we ever see. Like, she isn't playing games, she just straight up is like, I'm going to kill you because you killed my friend. Like, it is intense. And then, of course, also her neutral death is, like, honestly, one of the most emotional scenes in the entire game, in my opinion. So many people just, like, completely miss that death. Like, holy crap. But also, another thing I want to talk about, it's funny, when Deltarune Chapter 2 came out, I noticed how when a lot of people saw Spamton Neo, they're like, holy crap, Toby, like, man, he's, like, crazy when it comes to horror, what the heck? And I just feel like, did everyone forget about Omega Flowey? Like, are we really just going to pretend this never happened? And that's not even getting into the True Lab. We'll get to that later too, I guess, in a later run. So there's a lot of stuff we'll get to later, but for now, that is about all I wanted to say, so thanks for listening, I guess, and I will see you in the next run of the Flowey route. By the way, I'm totally not going to tell you who I'm going to kill and spare from now on, so always be afraid. Yeah.